Hi everybody, it's Jennifer. If you want to see how I did this Victoria's Secret fashion show inspired makeup tutorial, then please keep watching. Starting out, I'm using my Anastasia Beverly Hills Brow Wiz and filling in my brows. Next, I'm using my Anastasia Brow Powder Duo and filling in the rest of my brows. Next, to sculpt out my brows, I'm using my MAC Studio Finish Concealer. And to prime my lids, I'm using MAC Bare Steady. For a base, I'm using Urban Decay 24/7 Shadow in the shade JUJU. To warm up my lids, I'm using MAC Saddle. Next, I'm using the Urban Decay Naked 2 palette in the shade Pistol on my mobile lid. Next, I'm using Snakebite to warm up my outer corners. To brighten the inner part, I am using Suspect. To highlight my brow bone, I'm using Booty Call, and I'm also going to highlight the inner corners of my eyes. To conceal my under eyes, I'm using IT Cosmetics by Under Eyes. To brighten my waterline, I am using L'Oreal Infallible in the shade Brightener. To smoke out my lash line, I am using IT Cosmetics No Tug Gel Eyeliner. To smoke out the liner, I'm using Blackout. And to blend it out even further, I'm using Busted. And with a clean blending brush, I am blending it all out with no harsh lines. For mascara, I am using Rimmel London Glam Eyes on just my lower lashes. And for my upper lashes, I am using Mally Volumizing Mascara. For the most natural looking lashes, I'm using Red Cherry 747 XS. It is a short lash, but it looks very natural during the daytime. Then going back in with Blackout and just covering up any exposed glue. So there's the finished eyes. For foundation, I'm using NARS Sheer Glow in the shade Barcelona. To brighten my under eyes, I'm using NARS Radiant Concealer in the shade Custard. To set my concealer, I'm using IT Cosmetics by Pores. And to set my foundation, I'm using Lorac Porfection Baked Powder. To warm up my face, I am using MAC Give Me Sun. And to sculpt out my cheeks, I'm using NARS Laguna. For blush, I'm using NARS Angelica. And to sculpt out my nose, I am also using the NARS Laguna. For highlight, I'm using Bobbi Brown Shimmer Brick in the shade Beige. For lip liner, I'm using Rimmel London in the shade East End Snob. For lipstick, I'm using IT Cosmetics in the shade Love Story. And just on the center of my lips, I'm using Marc Jacobs Kissability. Now it's time to take down my hair. And to finish off this look, I'm using Scandinavia 10 Years Younger Setting Spray. And everything that I used will be in the description box below. Thumbs up this video and subscribe to my channel if you have not already, and tag me on Instagram if you recreate this look. So thanks for watching. Till next time.